Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you are having a marvelous day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. Today, I want to talk about Tucker Carlson, the conservative political commentator at Fox News, and the damage that he is doing to white people. During the confirmation hearings of Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is being confirmed for a position on the Supreme Court, the right wing of the Republican Party is trying to discredit her by trying to show that she's not intelligent enough to be on the Supreme Court. So Tucker Carlson is leading this charge by asking to see her LSAT score. The LSAT is the law school admissions test. So he wants to know what she made on the LSAT. In other words, I need to see your papers, Negro. Now, why would that be the case? That this black woman, they've had 2 or 3 people confirmed in the last few years, and test scores have not come up. Now, all of a sudden, this woman who has a very stellar career in law, who went through Harvard Law School, now all of a sudden, they need to see her test scores. This is an old trick. This is an old racist tactic to denigrate black people and to try to show that a black person is not intelligent enough to do a particular thing. Now, given the fact that they didn't ask to see the LSAT score of the last 3 white people that were confirmed to the court, lets you know they didn't have a problem with their test scores. But all of a sudden, they have a problem with this black woman's test score. They need to see her test score. And I guarantee you, her LSAT score is as good and better than theirs. But the idea is to plant doubt and to undermine the black person. That's what this is about. And the way that does damage to white people is that it makes every white person in America think that this woman is not as intelligent as they are. And that's the whole purpose, to keep white people thinking that they are smarter, that they are superior. This does damage to white people because this country is not changing. This country has changed. And these old tactics don't do anything but help them to hold on to old stereotypes and old beliefs that's going to hurt them in the end, and especially the generations coming after them. These things are going to hurt them. So it must be made clear that accomplished black people are not going to start showing test scores unless everybody else is showing their test scores too and showing how they got in, because it will be made clear very quickly that many non-black people, and I'm not talking about Asians either, non-black people got into whatever they got into through nepotism and favoritism. And one of the things that we black people are going to have to stop doing is stop playing defensively all the time. Some of these times we're going to have to go on the offense. We're going to have to say, you need to show up too. You need to show me some stuff too. I need to see how you got there. I need to know who helped you. I need to know what your background is, because we just saw 2 white women out there in California sentenced to jail, to prison, for doing something illegal, trying to get their children into college. And you think they're the only ones who've done that? No, they are not. So if we're going to put our stuff on the table, you need to put yours on the table too. Now, Tucker Carlson and people like him are using these conservative talking points to justify not voting for a very qualified candidate for the Supreme Court. And he's also giving his listeners what they want to hear. They want to hear that she's not intelligent, that she got affirmative action to get in Harvard Law School, or there was some kind of quota letting a certain number of black people in because she couldn't pass the test. Those are the things that their viewers want to hear. But those things are not true. Those are old talking points, old and outdated, and they are doing damage. Because when black children actually outdo white children, then it's just like it's a blow to their ego. This young man's name is Michael Brown. In 2018, he was 17 years old and he applied to 20 different colleges and universities. He was accepted to every one with a full ride scholarship to each one. He had a 4.68 grade point average. So this is an intellectually gifted student. These two women on Fox News in Washington, D.C. reported on the story and called the child obnoxious because he was excited that he had been accepted into all 20 colleges with a full ride scholarship. He eventually chose Stanford in California, but they called him obnoxious. Now, what would they have called a 17-year-old white boy who had a 4.68 GPA and was accepted into 20 different colleges with 20 different scholarships? They would have called him a genius and they would have applauded him. But that's what this false sense of superiority does. It prevents two grown women from being happy for a 17-year-old boy from the 3rd Ward in Houston, and I'm told that's a poor area, for getting scholarship offers that he earned, because nobody gives you a 4.68 grade point average. You have to earn that. But this is what happens when you have been led to believe that you're smarter than everybody else. You can't even be happy for a child like that. And it's a come down for them. That's doing damage to the psyche of a white person because you pump somebody up to believe something about themselves that is not true. Donald Trump used the same talking points against President Obama in an effort to undermine his presidency, and he did that. And because of that, many of the programs and the policies that President Obama wanted to pass that would have helped millions of American people were not passed because they punched holes into everything because they were convinced that President Obama wasn't smart enough to be a president. Imagine that. He came into office bright-eyed and optimistic, and he had to learn the hard way that bright-eyed, optimistic, common sense reasoning, those things don't necessarily work with this crowd. In their eyes, you're black and you can't be smart enough or good enough to lead this country. This kind of thinking causes white people to vote against their own interests because they have it in their minds that if a black person came up with the idea, or if a white person that's working with the black person came up with the idea, it can't be a good idea. And that hurts them. Ketanji Jackson is from a very middle-class family and has a wonderful educational background. Her father is a lawyer, her mother an educator. She graduated from high school as the winner of one of the largest debate tournaments in the country. She graduated from Harvard University with a degree in government, decided to go to law school. She passed the LSAT, passed the courses at Harvard, and passed the bar. So there's no reason why anybody would think that she wouldn't be a wonderful associate judge of the U.S. Supreme Court. Again, what Tucker Carlson is doing is an old tactic. It goes way back to using a test to disqualify a black person. Now, there are two problems with this. Number one, these tests that people like Tucker Carlson will brag about are tests that studies have shown and white people admit they cheat on the tests. They admit they cheat on the test. Number two, the Educational Testing Service, the people who create these tests in the first place, have admitted and said over and over again, these tests don't measure anything meaningful. Why should you have to pass a test to get into law school when you're going to have to pass a test to get out of law school? The test should go after the teaching, not before the teaching. So the test before the teaching doesn't really measure very much. The real test is whether or not you can go in the classroom and do the work. And she obviously was able to do that. But the damage that they are doing, the damage that Tucker Carlson and people like him are doing to white people, is that it is making them look at other people as being less important, less intelligent, and less worthy than they are. Not only is it morally wrong, but it's factually wrong. America brags about being exceptional. They talk about American exceptionalism. And America is exceptional in that America is a very young country, and it came up out of almost like out of nowhere. But the reason was that they had millions of people enslaved in a bondage system providing free labor. They had black people enslaved, but not just any black people. There were brilliant black people. When they went into Africa, they picked the best and the brightest. The Africans themselves admit that. But the white people took credit for what they did and for what the black people did, because the black people were not citizens. They were enslaved, and the white people had a knee on their necks, and they were in control of everything. But they did not do everything. Some of the major inventions of the United States were done by black people, and that was when they were actually able to get credit for them. Those slaves were inventing, and the slave masters or the people at the patent office were getting credit for it, because the slaves could not apply for patents because they were not American citizens. The genius of America is attributed to two races of people. The indigenous people that we call Indians were not building the infrastructure. They were fighting for their land. This infrastructure was put in place by the genius and ingenuity of African people with their creativity and their inventions, and then with the white people with their gift for order, organization, and building systems. That is the American exceptionalism. It's not one group, it's two groups, black people and white people. And this is one of the major lies that's going to hurt white people going forward. They really believe all of this propaganda about white supremacy. So people who think like Tucker Carlson have created an environment where every white person in the world thinks that they are smarter than every black person, no matter where they are. All of the black people in Africa, in the Caribbean, in Latin America, in the United States, they think they're smarter than all black people by virtue of the fact that they are white. That's a problem. So I'm going to end this video with 5 ways that Tucker Carlson and people like him are doing damage to white people. Number 1, they are reinforcing the false sense of superiority that white people have. And by them having this sense of entitlement or superiority, when someone is as qualified or more qualified than they are to do something, it sometimes causes them to be angry and bitter. And that does damage to the psyche of them and the American society. Number 2, it causes them to vote against their own interests. If a Democrat or a black person or somebody that's non-white comes up with a really good idea that might help all Americans, they'll be opposed to it simply because it came from somebody whose skin color or whose mindset they didn't like. Poor white people vote against their own interests. Number 3, it keeps them in denial about the accomplishments of other people, including black people. No matter how much evidence there might be that a black person invented something or created something or did something that they thought a white person did, but they find out that it really was a black person, they'll just call it fake news. That does damage to them and to the country. Number 4, it encourages them not to prepare for the future. It is very unwise for anybody to think that this world is never going to change, that the power is always going to be in the hands of one group of people. The New World Order, which is on its way, suggests there's going to be a whole new dispensation with a whole new set of principles and laws. And people who cannot adapt their minds to that are not going to make it. And number 5, it causes white people to look at other people as being less than or inferior to them. And that may just not be the case. But these things, and there are others, but these things are doing damage to white people. And people like Tucker Carlson, who probably know better, are perpetuating this sense of superiority, of entitlement to white people, and is ultimately going to do damage to them. Well, this is what I have on my mind today after listening to Tucker Carlson speaking on Ketanji Brown Jackson's LSAT score. But let me know what you think. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.